The morning sky above New York City turned dark without warning. People stopped walking on the streets and looked up. Cars slowed down. Children pointed at the strange shadows that covered the sun. Sarah Chen was drinking coffee in her laboratory when the lights flickered. She worked for the government in a secret facility deep underground. Her job was to study strange things that most people never heard about. When her computer started beeping with emergency alerts, she knew something very bad was happening. The first alien ship appeared over Manhattan like a giant metal mountain floating in the air. It was bigger than any building humans had ever made. The metal hull was dark gray and covered with strange lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. More ships began appearing over every major city on Earth. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, Delhi, São Paulo. Everywhere humans looked up, they saw the same terrifying sight. General Marcus Rodriguez was in his office at NORAD when the red phone rang. This phone only rang when the world was ending. He picked it up and heard the voice of the president. "General, we have a situation. Are you seeing this?" Marcus looked at his screens. Satellite images showed hundreds of alien ships hanging over Earth like storm clouds. Each ship was massive. The smallest ones were bigger than aircraft carriers. The largest ones could hold entire cities inside them. "Yes, Mr. President, I'm seeing it. What are your orders?" "I don't know yet. Wait for contact. They haven't attacked. Maybe they want to talk." Marcus hung up and called his best officers. They gathered in the war room deep under the mountain. Everyone looked scared but tried not to show it. They had trained for wars with other countries. No one had trained for this. "Options?" Marcus asked his team. Colonel Williams spoke first. "Our best missiles might scratch their paint. These ships are using technology we can't understand. Energy, shields, gravity manipulation, faster than light travel. We're like cavemen with sticks facing tanks." "So we surrender?" asked Major Foster. "What choice do we have?" Williams replied. Sarah Chen was called to an emergency meeting with world leaders. She took an elevator that went down so deep her ears popped 3 times. The meeting room had no windows and thick concrete walls. Presidents and prime ministers appeared on screens around the room. Everyone looked terrified. The Secretary of Defense stood at the front of the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing first contact with an alien civilization. Their technology is far beyond ours. We need options." Sarah raised her hand. "Have they tried to communicate?" "Not yet. But our experts think they will soon." She was right. 2 hours later, every television, radio, and computer screen on Earth displayed the same image. It was a face that looked almost human, but not quite right. The skin was pale gray. The eyes were too large and completely black. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once. "Primitive species of the 3rd planet, I am Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our domain." The alien paused and seemed to look directly at each person watching. Its black eyes showed no emotion at all. "We have conquered 10,000 worlds. We have ruled the galaxy for 50,000 of your years. Every species we encounter receives the same choice. It is simple and fair." Images appeared on the screens showing other planets, beautiful worlds with strange cities and different types of alien beings. All of them were working in mines or factories. All of them wore chains. Choice 1, submit to the Empire. Your species will serve us. You will work for us. You will live under our rules. In return, we will not destroy you. You will survive. New images appeared. Planets burning, cities melting, billions of beings dying as great weapons turned their worlds into fire and ash. Choice 2, resist us. We will destroy your entire planet. Every human will die. Your species will be forgotten. Your world will become dust floating in space. The alien's face filled the screens again. Its black eyes seemed to look into the soul of every person watching. "You have 72 of your hours to decide. This choice has been given to every intelligent species in the galaxy. Most choose slavery over death. Some choose death over slavery. No species has ever found a third choice because there is no third choice. Choose wisely." The screens went dark. Panic spread across Earth like wildfire. In cities around the world, People ran through the streets, screaming. Some went to churches to pray. Others went to bars to drink. Many just sat in their homes and cried. World leaders held emergency meetings. Military commanders calculated their weapons against alien technology. The numbers were hopeless. Earth's most powerful nuclear bombs would barely damage one alien ship. The aliens had hundreds of ships. In the deep bunker under NORAD, Sarah Chen sat with General Rodriguez and his staff. They had been awake for 18 hours straight, drinking coffee and trying to find impossible solutions. What do we know about their technology? Marcus asked. Sarah opened her laptop. From what our satellites can detect, their ships use some kind of force field for protection. Their weapons appear to be energy-based, possibly plasma or focused. Radiation. Their ships don't use rocket engines. They seem to manipulate gravity itself for movement. Can we hack their computers? We don't even know if they use computers the way we understand them. Their technology might be biological, quantum-based, or something we haven't discovered yet. Colonel Williams slammed his fist on the table. So we have no options. We can surrender and become slaves, or we can fight and die. Sarah stared at the wall for a long moment. Her mind was working on something. What if they're wrong? What do you mean? Marcus asked. The alien said no species has ever found a third choice. But what if that's because no species ever really looked for one? What if every species just accepted that those were the only two options? You think there's another way? Sarah stood up and started pacing around the room. I think they're so used to winning that they can't imagine anything else. They've done this same thing 10,000 times. They show up, make threats, and species either surrender or get destroyed. It's become a habit. That doesn't give us weapons that can fight them. No, but it might give us something they don't expect. Sarah sat back down and looked at everyone in the room. What if we don't choose either option? What if we refuse to play their game? Major Foster laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. You want to negotiate with them? Ask them nicely to go away? No, I want to disappear. Everyone stared at her. Sarah opened another file on her computer. 6 months ago, we made a breakthrough in quantum field manipulation. The project was called Lazarus. The idea was to create a shield that could hide things from any kind of detection. Not just radar or cameras, but from all electromagnetic radiation, gravitational sensors, even quantum observation. Marcus leaned forward. You're talking about making Earth invisible? Not just invisible, undetectable. The field would create a quantum bubble around our entire planet. From the outside, it would look like empty space. Ships could fly right through the area where Earth should be and never know we're here. Does it work? Sarah hesitated. We tested it on small objects. A basketball, a car, a building. It worked perfectly, but we never tried anything as big as a planet. What are the risks? We don't know. The field might tear apart our atmosphere. It might stop gravity from working. It might kill everyone on Earth instantly. Sarah looked around the room. Or it might save us. Colonel Williams shook his head. That's not a plan. That's suicide with extra steps. Maybe, Sarah said. But it's better than slavery or certain death. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Finally, he picked up the red phone. Mr. President, I need to speak with you immediately. We have a third option. While Sarah explained the Lazarus Project to world leaders, something else was happening. All around Earth, ordinary people were making their own choices. They weren't waiting for governments to decide their fate. In Tokyo, a group of engineers started building new weapons using ideas from science fiction movies. In London, hackers tried to break into the alien ship's communication systems. In Moscow, scientists began experiments with nuclear fusion that could power city-sized weapons. None of these projects would work in time. Everyone knew it. But humans were doing what they always did when faced with impossible odds. They refused to give up. Dr. James Wright was working in his laboratory in Geneva. He had been studying particle physics for 30 years. When he heard the alien ultimatum, he didn't panic. Instead, he started thinking. If they can manipulate gravity, he said to his assistant, Then they understand space-time at a level we're just beginning to reach. But understanding something and controlling it perfectly are different things. He started making calculations. On every whiteboard in his lab, numbers and equations covered the walls like mathematical graffiti. In Australia, marine biologist Dr. Lisa Kumar was studying tardigrades. These were tiny animals that could survive almost anything: radiation, extreme cold, extreme heat, even the vacuum of space. She wondered if the principles that made tardigrades so tough could be applied to humans. In Brazil, software engineer Carlos Santos was trying to understand how the aliens had taken control of every screen on Earth at once. Their signal had bypassed all security, all firewalls, all protection. But Carlos noticed something strange. The signal wasn't coming from the ships. It was coming from somewhere else. Around the world, brilliant minds were working on pieces of a puzzle they didn't know existed yet. Each person was following their own idea, their own hope of finding a solution. Meanwhile, on the flagship of the alien fleet, Admiral HFY was confident. He had done this so many times before. The pattern never changed. Primitive species always reacted the same way: fear, panic, then resignation. In 72 hours, the humans would surrender just like everyone else. He didn't bother to watch Earth very closely. Why would he? The outcome was already decided, but Sarah Chen was not giving up. Deep under NORAD, she was working with engineers and scientists from around the world. Through secure video calls, the best minds on Earth were collaborating on the impossible. "The power requirements are enormous," said Dr. Martinez from Spain. "We'd need to connect every nuclear power plant on Earth to generate enough energy. The field generators would need to be placed at precise points around the globe," added Dr. Kim from South Korea. "Any miscalculation could tear the planet apart." Sarah nodded. "I know it's dangerous, but we have 62 hours to make it work, or we lose everything anyway." General Rodriguez stood behind her, watching the screens full of equations and diagrams. "What do you need from me?" "Every military satellite, every submarine, every aircraft carrier that can carry a field generator. We need to surround Earth with a perfect geometric pattern of quantum field projectors. And if it doesn't work?" Sarah looked at him with tired eyes. "Then we die trying something new instead of accepting slavery or destruction." As the first day of the 72-hour deadline passed, something strange was happening on Earth. Instead of choosing between the two options the aliens had given them, humans were working together like never before. Scientists shared research freely. Military forces cooperated without politics. Everyone had the same goal: find a third choice. The aliens had made one mistake. They thought they understood humans because they understood fear, but they didn't understand the most important thing about humanity. When faced with an impossible choice, humans don't just pick the least bad option. They try to create a new option that didn't exist before. The countdown continued. 60 hours left, then 50, then 40. On Earth, the greatest collaborative effort in human history was racing against time. Success would save everyone. Failure would doom the entire species. But for the first time since the alien ships appeared, people weren't just afraid. They were angry. And an angry human with nothing to lose was the most dangerous creature in the universe. Admiral HFY stood on the bridge of his flagship watching Earth through the massive viewing screen. 48 hours had passed since he delivered the ultimatum. Usually, by this time, primitive species were either sending surrender messages or launching pathetic attacks with their simple weapons. The humans were doing neither. "Status report," HFY ordered his second-in-command, Commander Thexkar. "The planet appears to be quiet, sir. No military movements, no surrender communications, no attacks. Our sensors detect some unusual energy readings from various points on their surface, but nothing that appears threatening." HFY's black eyes narrowed. This was different. In 50,000 years of conquest, he had never seen a species simply ignore the ultimatum. "Are they perhaps too primitive to understand our message?" "No, sir. Our translators confirm the message was received and understood by their entire population. They have telecommunications that reached every human on the planet. Then what are they doing? Commander Thexkar checked his readings again. It's difficult to determine, sir. They appear to be working on some kind of construction projects at specific coordinates around their planet. Our long-range scans show a lot of activity, but we cannot determine the purpose. On Earth, Sarah Chen had not slept in 2 days. Her eyes were red from staring at computer screens and her hands shook from too much coffee. Around her, the best scientists and engineers from every nation worked frantically on the most ambitious project in human history. Status report from all sites, she called out to her team. Dr. Martinez appeared on a video screen from Madrid. Generator Site 7 is online. Field strength is stable at 94%. Dr. Kim reported from Seoul. Site 12 is experiencing some fluctuations but should be stable within 2 hours. One by one, scientists from around the world reported their progress. Giant machines were being built at precise locations all over Earth. Each machine was the size of a football stadium and required enormous amounts of power. General Rodriguez entered the command center carrying a tablet full of reports. Sarah, we have a problem. The power grid can't handle the load. When we activate all the generators at once, we'll overload every power plant on Earth. Sarah rubbed her tired eyes. What are our options? We could activate them in sequence instead of all at once. But that leaves gaps in the field coverage. How big are the gaps? Big enough for their sensors to detect us. Sarah stared at the world map showing all the generator locations. Red dots marked completed sites, yellow dots showed sites still under construction, and blue lines showed the quantum field coverage when all generators were active. What if we don't activate them all at once, she asked. What do you mean? Sarah pointed to the map. Look at the pattern. The field generators form a geometric network around Earth. If we activate them in a specific sequence, we can create a rolling wave of quantum distortion that moves around the planet. Dr. Wright joined the conversation from his lab in Geneva. That's brilliant. Instead of creating one giant invisible bubble, we create a moving zone of distortion that makes it impossible for them to get a clear reading of our planet. But will it work? Asked General Rodriguez. Sarah was honest. I don't know. We're doing something that has never been attempted before. We're trying to hide an entire planet from alien technology we don't understand. Meanwhile, on the alien flagship, something strange was starting to happen. The ship's sensors began showing inconsistent readings from Earth. Commander, called the sensor operator, I'm getting conflicting data from the third planet. Commander Thexkar looked at the displays. What kind of conflicts? Sometimes the planet appears normal. Sometimes it appears to be not there. And sometimes our sensors show empty space where the planet should be, but our gravitational detectors still register its mass. Run a full diagnostic on all sensor arrays. Already done, sir. All systems are functioning normally. Admiral Kethavar was called to examine the strange readings. He looked at the data for several minutes without speaking. Finally, he turned to his communications officer. Contact the human governments. Demand an explanation for these sensor anomalies. Yes, sir. The message was sent to Earth, but no response came back. Earth's governments had stopped monitoring alien communications. They were too busy trying to save their world. Sarah Chen was now coordinating the largest engineering project in human history from her underground command center. Video screens showed construction sites on every continent. In the Sahara Desert, massive machines were being assembled by workers who had volunteered to stay despite the danger. In Antarctica, scientists worked in temperatures that could freeze a person solid in minutes. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, naval engineers built floating platforms to support generators. How much time do we have left? Sarah asked. 18 hours until their deadline, General Rodriguez replied. Status of all generator sites? Dr. Kumar reported from Australia. Site 23 is complete. We're beginning initial power tests now. Carlos Santos called in from Brazil. Site 15 is online, but we're having problems with the quantum field alignment. The local gravitational field is interfering with our calculations. Can you compensate? Working on it. Give me 2 more hours. Sarah looked at the global map. Again. 75 generator sites were planned around Earth. 62 were complete and operational. 8 were still under construction. 5 had failed their initial tests and needed repairs. "We need all sites operational for this to work," she told her team. "Even one gap in the coverage could expose us." Dr. Wright had been working on the theoretical calculations for the quantum field. He discovered something important. "Sarah, I think I know why the alien sensors are getting confused. Tell me. The quantum field we're creating doesn't just make us invisible, it's actually shifting Earth slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. We're still here, but we're existing in a parallel quantum state. Is that good or bad? I honestly don't know. We're in completely uncharted territory." On the alien flagship, the confusion was getting worse. Admiral Kethvar called a meeting with all his senior officers. "Gentlemen, we have an unprecedented situation. The third planet is behaving in ways that our science cannot explain. Our sensors cannot get consistent readings. Sometimes the planet appears to be there, sometimes it doesn't. Could this be some kind of primitive cloaking device?" asked Commander Thexkar. "Impossible. These humans have barely discovered nuclear fission. They don't have the technology to hide an entire planet." "Then what explanation do you propose, Admiral?" Kethvar was silent for a long moment. In 50,000 years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Every species the Empire had met was either too primitive to resist or so advanced that they had already been absorbed into the Empire long ago. "Send scout ships to investigate," he finally ordered. "I want to know what these humans are doing." 3 small alien ships detached from the main fleet and flew toward Earth. But as they approached, something strange happened. The ship's instruments began showing conflicting information. According to some sensors, they were flying toward a planet. According to others, they were flying through empty space. "Scout leader to flagship," the pilot radioed. "We're experiencing severe sensor interference. Unable to maintain clear target lock. Continue your approach," Admiral Kethvar ordered. The scout ships flew closer to where Earth should be. But instead of finding a planet, they found themselves flying through what seemed like empty space. Yet their gravitational sensors insisted there was a massive object directly in front of them. "Scout leader to flagship. We've reached the coordinates, but there's nothing here. Just empty space." "That's impossible. Our long-range sensors clearly show a planet at those coordinates." "Sir, I'm looking at empty space. No planet, no moons, nothing." Admiral Kethvar stared at the communication screen in disbelief. He ordered the scout ships to return and sent a different squadron. The same thing happened. The ships flew to Earth's coordinates but found nothing there. On Earth, Sarah Chen watched the alien scout ships on her tracking screens. The ships flew right through the area where Earth was located, but the quantum field made Earth invisible to them. It was working. "They can't see us," she announced to her team. "The field is functioning exactly as we hoped." Cheers erupted from command centers around the world. For the first time in 3 days, people allowed themselves to feel hope. But Sarah knew they weren't safe yet. "This is just the first test. We need to maintain the field for as long as they stay in our solar system. And we need to make sure we can drop the field safely when they leave." General Rodriguez looked concerned. "How long can we maintain this power consumption? We're using enough electricity to power half the planet. The generators are designed to run for up to 6 months with current fuel supplies. After that, we'll need to either find a way to reduce power consumption or—" Sarah didn't finish the sentence. "Or what?" "Or hope they give up and leave." On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethvar faced the most confusing situation of his long military career. His ship's long-range sensors clearly detected a planet with a breathable atmosphere and billions of intelligent inhabitants. But every time he sent ships to investigate, they found empty space. "Could the planet have been destroyed?" asked Commander Thexkar. "By what? We've detected no weapons fire, no explosions, no debris field. According to our sensors, the planet is still there. Could it be some kind of natural phenomenon?" Kethvar considered this. "Contact the Imperial Science Division. I want our best xenobiologists and quantum physicists to examine this data. While the aliens tried to understand what was happening, humans continued working frantically to improve their quantum field. Dr. Wright discovered that they could strengthen the field by synchronizing all the generators to pulse in a specific pattern. It's like creating interference patterns in quantum space, he explained to Sarah. The overlapping fields create areas of complete quantum isolation. Will it make us safer? It should make us completely undetectable by any known technology. But Sarah, there's something else. What? The field isn't just hiding us, it's changing us. Sarah felt a chill despite the warm underground bunker. What do you mean changing us? The quantum field is affecting biological matter. Plants near the generators are growing faster and showing unusual adaptations. Animals are displaying enhanced cognitive abilities, and humans. What about humans? Workers at the generator sites are reporting strange experiences, enhanced senses, improved reflexes, some kind of mental connection with the quantum field itself. Sarah was quiet for a moment. They had created the field to hide from the aliens, but it was doing something else, something they hadn't planned for. Is it dangerous? I don't think so. If anything, the changes seem beneficial. But we're altering the fundamental nature of life on Earth. We needed to survive, Sarah said. If the field changes us, maybe that's what we need to become to survive in a galaxy full of hostile aliens. With only 6 hours left until the alien deadline, Earth had vanished from normal space. The quantum field generators hummed with power at 75 locations around the globe. Humanity had chosen neither slavery nor destruction. They had chosen to become something the galaxy had never seen before. Admiral Kethvar stood on his bridge, staring at the empty space where Earth should have been. For the first time in his long career, he didn't know what to do. The humans had not chosen either option he had given them. They had simply disappeared. Sir, his communication officer called. We're receiving a message from the Imperial High Command. They want a status report on the conquest of the third planet. Kethvar looked at his officers. How could he explain that an entire planet full of primitive beings had somehow made themselves vanish? Tell the High Command, he said, slowly, that the situation has become complicated. 3 weeks had passed since Earth disappeared from normal space. Admiral Kethvar paced back and forth on the bridge of his flagship, frustrated and confused. His fleet remained in the solar system, trying to understand what had happened to the humans. Status report, he demanded for the 100th time. Commander Thexkar looked tired. Sir, our science teams have run every test possible. According to our instruments, there should be a planet at these coordinates. We can detect its gravitational influence on the other planets in this system. But when we send ships to investigate, they find nothing. And our missing scout ships? Still no contact from the 12 ships we've lost. They simply vanish when they reach the coordinates where the planet should be. Kethvar slammed his fist against the metal railing. 12 ships don't just disappear. Are they destroyed? Captured? What? We don't know, sir. They send normal reports until they reach the target coordinates, then complete silence. On Earth, Sarah Chen was discovering that hiding their planet had been only the beginning. The quantum field that made Earth invisible was changing everything in ways they had never imagined. She stood in a laboratory deep underground, watching test results that seemed impossible. Plants were growing 3 times faster than normal. Animals were showing increased intelligence. And humans working near the quantum generators were developing abilities that defied scientific explanation. Show me the latest reports, she told Dr. Wright. He pulled up files on his computer. Workers. At Generator Site 7 report. They can sense each other's thoughts when they're within 50 meters of the quantum field projector. Site 12 workers say they can see electromagnetic fields with their naked eyes. At Site 20, people are displaying perfect recall of everything that happens while they're in the quantum field. Sarah studied the data. Any negative effects? None, that we can detect. If anything, people are healthier, stronger, and more intelligent. But Sarah, these aren't just improvements. These are fundamental changes to human biology. Dr. Kumar joined them from her research station in Australia. Through video link, she looked excited and worried at the same time. I've been studying the biological changes more carefully, she said. The quantum field isn't just enhancing human abilities, it's rewriting our DNA at the quantum level. We're becoming something new. Something new how? Humans near the generators are developing what I can only call quantum biology. Their cells can exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. They can process information at speeds that should be impossible for biological brains. Some are, even showing the ability to manipulate matter at the molecular level just by thinking about it. Sarah felt excitement and fear fighting in her chest. Are you saying we're evolving? Not evolving. Transforming. And it's happening fast. Much faster than normal evolution. General Rodriguez entered the laboratory carrying urgent reports. Sarah, we have developments on the surface. The aliens are doing something new. What kind of developments? They've started attacking random areas of space where they think Earth might be. Energy weapons, projectile weapons, some kind of bombs that create tears in space itself. Sarah ran to the monitoring station. Screens showed the area around Earth from sensors hidden on the moon. Bright flashes of energy were lighting up the darkness as alien weapons fired at empty space. Are they hitting us? No. The quantum field is deflecting everything. Their weapons pass right through us like we're not here. But Sarah, they're getting more desperate and more dangerous. On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethavar was losing his patience and his reputation. The Imperial High Command was demanding explanations he couldn't provide. Admiral, his tactical officer reported. The gravity bombs had no effect. The quantum lances found no target. Even the reality-warping missiles passed through empty space. What about the dimensional collapse? Weapon? Same result, sir. The weapon activated successfully, but there was nothing there to affect. Kethavar stared at the display showing their target area. According to every scientific principle the Empire knew, there should be a planet full of primitive humans right there, but their most powerful weapons were hitting nothing. Sir, the communication officer called. Priority message from the Imperial High Command. The screen displayed the image of Grand Admiral Veltar, the highest military commander in the Empire. His expression was not pleasant. Admiral Kethavar, explain to me how an entire planet of primitives has simply vanished. The Emperor is not amused by your reports. Sir, the humans appear to have developed some kind of technology that we don't understand. They've made their entire planet undetectable and unreachable. That's impossible. These creatures haven't even achieved faster than light travel. Nevertheless, sir, that appears to be what has happened. Grand Admiral Veltar was silent for a long moment. Admiral, you will remain in that system until you solve this problem. The Empire does not accept failure. Find those humans and complete the conquest. The communication ended, leaving Kethavar alone with his impossible mission. Meanwhile, on Earth, something extraordinary was happening. The quantum field wasn't just hiding humanity from alien detection, it was connecting all humans in ways they had never experienced before. Elena Vasquez had been working at Generator Site 15 in Mexico when she first felt it. A strange tingling in her mind, like someone was whispering thoughts that weren't her own. At first, she thought she was getting sick from exposure to the quantum field. But as days passed, the sensation grew stronger and clearer. She could sense the thoughts and feelings of other workers at her site, not reading their minds exactly, but feeling their presence in a way that went beyond normal human senses. Dr. Chen, Elena reported during a video call, something is happening to us here. We're becoming connected somehow. Sarah leaned forward, interested. Connected how? It's hard to explain. When we work together on a problem, it's like our minds merge temporarily. We can share knowledge instantly, coordinate our actions without speaking, even feel each other's emotions. Dr. Wright was taking notes rapidly. This matches reports from other sites. Humans in quantum fields are developing collective consciousness capabilities. Is it dangerous? Sarah asked. Elena smiled. No, Dr. Chen. It's beautiful. We're still individuals, but we're also becoming something larger. Something unified. Similar reports came from all 75 generator sites around Earth. Humans working in the quantum fields were changing, evolving, becoming more than they had been before. But the changes weren't limited to workers at the generator sites. The quantum field was slowly expanding, covering more of Earth's surface each day. As it spread, more humans began experiencing the transformation. In New York City, Maria Santos noticed she could sense the electromagnetic fields from the city's power grid. In London, James Wright discovered he could process mathematical calculations at incredible speeds. In Tokyo, Kenji Nakamura found he could communicate with the city's computer systems just by touching them. Sarah Chen realized that humanity was becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. They weren't just hiding from the aliens. They were transforming into a species that could survive and thrive in a hostile universe. We need to test the limits of these new abilities, she told her team during a global conference call. Dr. Martinez reported from Spain. My team has been working on that. Humans in quantum fields can interface directly with electronic systems. They can process information at quantum speeds. Some are even showing the ability to manipulate matter at the atomic level. What about outside the quantum fields? The changes seem to be permanent. Once someone has been exposed to the quantum field for more than 48 hours, they retain the enhanced abilities even when they leave the field area. Sarah felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. They had created this quantum field to save humanity from alien conquest, but they had accidentally created something much more significant. They had triggered the next step in human evolution. We need volunteers for an important mission, she announced to all sites. What kind of mission? Asked Elena from Mexico. We need to find out what happened to the alien ships that disappeared near Earth. If we're going to survive in this galaxy, we need to understand our enemies better. Elena volunteered immediately. So did dozens of other workers from quantum field sites around the world. They had been changed by their exposure to the field, and they wanted to use their new abilities to protect humanity. Sarah selected a team of 12 volunteers. Each had spent weeks working in quantum fields and had developed extraordinary abilities. Elena could interface directly with any electronic system. James from London could calculate trajectories and engineering solutions in his head faster than computers. Kenji could sense electromagnetic fields and energy patterns. Others had developed enhanced strength, speed, and sensory abilities. Your mission is to investigate the area where the alien scout ships disappeared, Sarah explained to the team. We need to know if they were destroyed, captured, or if something else happened to them. The team prepared for their mission using equipment that had been modified with quantum field technology. Their spacecraft was a converted research vessel that had been upgraded with quantum engines, allowing it to exist in the same quantum state as Earth. As they prepared to launch, Elena felt the collective consciousness of her team forming. 12. Individual minds beginning to work as one unified intelligence, while still maintaining their personal identities. We're ready, she reported to Sarah. The spacecraft launched from a secret base in the Pacific Ocean. As it flew away from Earth, the team members maintained their connection to each other and to the quantum field surrounding their home planet. They flew to the coordinates where the alien ships had disappeared. What they found amazed and terrified them. Dr. Chen, Elena radioed back to Earth. The alien ships didn't disappear. They're here, but they're trapped. Trapped how? The YM. Quantum field around Earth extends further than we thought. The alien ships flew into it and became shifted out of normal spacetime just like us. But their technology can't adapt to quantum existence the way ours can. They're stuck between dimensions, unable to return to normal space. James added his analysis. The alien crews are still alive, but they're experiencing temporal displacement. From their perspective, only minutes have passed since they entered the quantum field. They have no idea they've been missing for weeks. Sarah realized the implications immediately. Can we communicate with them? We think so. But Dr. Chen, there's something else. The quantum field isn't just around Earth anymore, it's expanding. Slowly but constantly. At the current rate, it will reach the Moon in 6 months and Mars in 2 years. What does that mean? Elena's voice was quiet when she answered. It means we're not just hiding from the galaxy anymore, we're changing it. On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethvar received a report that made his situation even more complicated. His long-range sensors had detected something impossible. Sir, his science officer reported, We're detecting quantum field fluctuations spreading outward from the coordinates where the third planet should be. What kind of fluctuations? The kind that suggests the human's invisibility field is expanding. If this continues, it could eventually affect our entire fleet. Kethavar stared at the sensor displays. The primitive humans he had been ordered to conquer weren't just hiding from the Empire. They were becoming something that could threaten the Empire itself. "Contact the Grand Admiral," he ordered. "Tell him the situation has changed. The humans aren't just surviving. They're growing stronger." As the alien message was sent across the galaxy, Earth's quantum field continued to expand. Humanity was no longer the same species that had received the ultimatum 4 weeks ago. They had become something new, something powerful, something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The choice between death and defeat had led humanity to choose transformation instead. And that transformation was just beginning. 6 months had passed since Earth disappeared from normal space. The quantum field surrounding humanity's home planet had grown beyond anyone's expectations. It now extended past the Moon and was approaching Mars. But more importantly, it had begun to affect the galaxy in ways no one had predicted. Sarah Chen stood in her command center, now expanded into a vast underground complex that stretched for miles beneath North America. The changes in her were obvious to anyone who had known her before the transformation began. Her eyes glowed with a faint blue light, a sign of quantum enhancement. Her movements were precise and flowing, as if she was constantly aware of the electromagnetic fields around her. "Status report from all sectors," she requested. Elena Vasquez appeared on the main screen, now speaking from a space station orbiting Jupiter. Her team had been exploring the outer solar system for weeks, spreading the quantum field to strategic locations. "Jupiter station is online and stable," Elena reported. "We've established 17 field generators in orbit around the gas giant. The quantum field now extends throughout most of the solar system. Any contact with alien forces?" "Yes, and that's where things get interesting. We've detected Imperial ships throughout this region of the galaxy, but they're not all hostile anymore." Sarah leaned forward. "Explain." James Wright appeared on another screen, transmitting from somewhere near Alpha Centauri. "Sarah, we've made contact with ships from 12 different species that were conquered by the Empire. When our quantum field reached them, something unexpected happened. The field disrupted the Imperial control devices that were keeping these species enslaved." "You mean they're free?" "More than free. The quantum field enhanced them the same way it enhanced us. Suddenly, species that had been slaves for thousands of years found themselves with abilities their masters couldn't control." Dr. Kumar added, "From her research station on Mars, the quantum field doesn't just hide us or enhance us. It liberates any consciousness it touches from artificial limitations. The Empire's control technology simply stops working." Sarah felt the collective consciousness of humanity processing this information. Millions of minds working together to understand the implications. They had accidentally discovered the key to freeing every enslaved species in the galaxy. How? "Are the freed species responding to contact with us?" Elena smiled. "They want to join us. Every species we've freed is asking for the same thing: help spreading the quantum field to their homeworld so they can free their people." Admiral Kethvar stood in the war room of his flagship, staring at reports that made no sense. His fleet had been trapped in Earth's solar system for months, unable to leave and unable to complete their mission. But worse, they were losing contact with Imperial forces throughout the galaxy. "Status report," he demanded. Commander Thexkar looked exhausted. "Sir, we've lost communication with 14 Imperial fleets in this sector. Long-range sensors show signs of rebellion on 47 conquered worlds. Our fastest ships report that some kind of invisible field is spreading from star system to star system. The humans? It has to be, sir. Whatever technology they developed is spreading beyond their home system, and wherever it spreads, Imperial control breaks down." Kethvar turned to his science officer. "Analysis? The quantum field the humans created doesn't just affect matter and energy, it affects consciousness itself. Any species exposed to it develops enhanced cognitive abilities and resistance to imperial conditioning. Sir, they've created a form of liberation that spreads like a virus. Can we stop it? We don't know how. Our weapons can't target something that exists in quantum superposition. Our shields can't block something that operates outside normal space-time. And our control, technology doesn't work on beings who have been enhanced by quantum consciousness. On Earth, humanity was experiencing changes that went far beyond anything they had imagined. The quantum field had connected not just individual humans, but entire cities, countries, and continents into a collective consciousness that maintained individual identity while enabling unprecedented cooperation. Sarah could feel the thoughts and emotions of 7 billion humans simultaneously, not as overwhelming noise, but as a symphony of consciousness that provided infinite wisdom and creativity. When humanity faced a problem, billions of minds could work on it simultaneously, while still allowing individuals to live their own lives. We need to make a decision about our next step, Sarah announced during a global consciousness meeting. Every human on Earth and throughout the solar system could participate in the discussion simultaneously. The response came from the collective voice of humanity, millions of people thinking and speaking as one while remaining unique individuals. The question is whether we continue expanding the quantum field to liberate more species, or whether we try to establish peaceful contact with the Empire. Elena spoke from her station near Jupiter. The freed species are begging us to help them. There are billions of conscious beings suffering under imperial control. How can we ignore their need for freedom? James added from his deep space mission. But expansion means conflict with the Empire. We're not just hiding anymore. We're actively undermining their power structure. Dr. Wright contributed his analysis. From a strategic perspective, we're already committed to this path. The quantum field is self-sustaining and continues to expand on its own. We can guide its growth, but we can't stop it. Sarah felt the collective wisdom of humanity processing the moral implications. The Empire gave us a choice between death and defeat. We chose transformation. But now we have to choose between isolation and liberation. If we continue to expand, we're not just saving ourselves, we're starting a galactic revolution. The decision was reached within minutes, as 7 billion human minds considered the options and reached consensus. Humanity would continue to spread the quantum field, but they would also try to communicate with the Empire to offer them the same choice they had been given. We'll send a message to the Imperial fleet, Sarah announced. We'll offer them the same choice we were given, but with one addition, the option to transform and join us. Admiral Kethvar received the human message 3 days later. It appeared on every screen in his fleet simultaneously, just as the original ultimatum had appeared on Earth 6 months ago. The message was simple and delivered by Sarah Chen herself. She appeared calm, confident, and somehow more than human. Her eyes held the blue glow of quantum enhancement, and when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of collective human consciousness. Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Empire, I am Dr. Sarah Chen, speaking for the transformed human species and our allied civilizations. 6 months ago, you gave us a choice between death and defeat. We chose neither. We chose evolution. The image showed views of Earth and the expanding quantum field, with free species working together on projects that defied imperial understanding. Now we offer you the same choice we were given, but with a difference. You can choose to continue, trying to conquer and enslave. Knowing that your control technology no longer works on quantum-enhanced beings, you can choose to retreat and maintain your empire in whatever systems you can still control. Or you can choose transformation. Sarah's image was replaced by scenes of former imperial slaves working alongside humans and other species, all enhanced by quantum consciousness, all free and creative and happy. The quantum field doesn't just grant freedom from external control. It grants freedom from the limitations that make conquest seem necessary. Enhanced consciousness doesn't need to dominate others. It finds fulfillment in cooperation and creation. The message continued. We extend this offer not just to you, Admiral, but to every conscious being in the Empire. The choice is transformation or stagnation, Evolution or extinction, unity or isolation. You have 72 hours to decide. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Kethvar and his crew staring at dark screens. Sir, Commander Thexkar said quietly, they're offering us the same ultimatum we gave them. Yes, but they've added a third option that we never offered. Kethvar was thinking about the images he had seen. Free beings working together, creating instead of destroying, building instead of conquering. What are your orders, sir? Kethvar was silent for a long time. He had spent his entire life in service to the Empire. He had conquered hundreds of worlds and enslaved billions of beings, but he had never seen the happiness and fulfillment that he had just witnessed in the human message. Get me a private channel to the Grand Admiral, he said finally. Sir, I need to report that we may have been wrong about the nature of civilization itself. While Admiral Kethvar struggled with his decision, the quantum field continued to expand throughout the galaxy. Each day brought reports of new species being liberated, new worlds being freed from Imperial control. Captain Torres, leading humanity's deep space exploration mission, sent regular reports back to Earth. Sarah, we've made contact with the Vegan system. 3 species here have been enslaved by the Empire for over 8,000 years. When the quantum field reached them, they experienced liberation within hours. They're asking for our help to free other systems in their region. Similar reports came from dozens of exploration teams. The galaxy was experiencing the largest liberation movement in its recorded history. Species that had been enslaved for millennia were suddenly free and enhanced beyond their wildest dreams. But the Empire was not giving up without a fight. Sarah, Elena reported from her station near Saturn, were detecting massive Imperial fleet movements throughout the galaxy. They're pulling back from liberated systems and concentrating their forces around their core worlds. Are they preparing for a major offensive? It looks like they're preparing for something much worse. Our analysis suggests they're planning to use planet-killing weapons on any world touched by the quantum field. Sarah felt the collective concern of humanity, processing this threat. Billions of minds working together to find solutions. How many worlds are at risk? Over 300 systems have been partially or completely liberated. If the Empire follows through on this threat, they could kill trillions of beings just to stop the spread of quantum consciousness. The stakes had just become much higher. Humanity had chosen to liberate the galaxy, but the Empire was prepared to destroy it rather than lose control. We need to accelerate our expansion, Sarah decided. If we can reach the core Imperial worlds before they launch their planet-killing offensive, we might be able to prevent the genocide. How? Sarah's enhanced mind was already working on the solution, connected to billions of other human minds, and millions of liberated alien minds throughout the galaxy. We offer the Empire one final choice, not between death and defeat, but between transformation and self-destruction. We show them that they can join us in building something better, or they can destroy everything they've spent 50,000 years building. The greatest gamble in galactic history was about to begin. Humanity had chosen evolution over extinction, but now they had to convince an entire empire to make the same choice. The quantum field continued to expand, carrying with it the promise of freedom for every conscious being in the galaxy. But it also carried the risk of the greatest war the universe had ever seen. The final confrontation between the old way of thinking and the new was about to begin. 1 year had passed since the Zephyrian Empire first arrived at Earth. The galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The quantum field that humanity created had spread to over 1,000 star systems, liberating billions of conscious beings from Imperial control. But now, at the edge of the galaxy's core, the final confrontation was about to begin. Sarah Chen stood in the command center of humanity's newest achievement, a massive space station that existed in quantum superposition, allowing it to appear in multiple locations simultaneously. Around her, representatives from 47 liberated species worked together, their consciousness enhanced and connected by the quantum field. Status report from all fronts, Sarah requested. Elena Vasquez, now leading the liberation fleet near the Imperial core worlds, appeared on the main screen. Her transformation was remarkable. She could exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, allowing her consciousness to coordinate dozens of operations across vast distances. Sarah, we've reached the final barrier. The Empire has created a massive quantum disruption field around their core systems. It's designed to prevent our field from reaching their most important worlds. Can we penetrate it? Yes, but not without risk. Breaking through their barrier will require us to concentrate the quantum field into a focused beam. If we succeed, we'll liberate the core worlds instantly. If we fail, the backlash could destroy our field generators and leave us vulnerable to Imperial retaliation. James Wright reported from his position near the Imperial capital world. Sarah, I'm detecting massive energy buildups on 12 Imperial planets. They're preparing to activate planet-killing weapons. If they can't maintain control of the galaxy, they're planning to sterilize every world that's been touched by quantum consciousness. Dr. Kumar added her analysis from the scientific research station. We estimate they could destroy over 300 worlds within hours. Trillions of beings would die just to preserve Imperial power. Sarah felt the collective consciousness of all liberated species processing this information. Humans, vegans, Altarians, Centaurians, and dozens of other species thinking together as one unified intelligence while maintaining their individual identities. How much time do we have? Based on their energy buildup patterns, maybe 18 hours before they begin the extermination, Elena replied. Sarah turned to address the representatives of all species present. We face the final choice. We can retreat and save ourselves, leaving billions to die under Imperial rule. We can attack the barrier and risk everything on one decisive action. Or, she paused, her enhanced mind processing possibilities that normal human consciousness could never have conceived. Or we offer them something they've never experienced before. We show them what they're choosing to destroy. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, no longer trapped in Earth's solar system but now commanding the defense of the Imperial core worlds. The past year had changed him. He had seen the liberation spreading across the galaxy, watched as species after species chose transformation over subjugation. More troubling, he had begun to question everything he had believed about the Empire's mission. Admiral, Commander Thexakar reported, the quantum disruption barrier is holding. The human field cannot penetrate our defenses. And our planet-killing weapons? Fully charged and ready to fire on your command. 12 weapons targeting the most heavily populated, liberated worlds. We can eliminate their population centers within minutes. Kethvar stared at the tactical display showing target worlds, billions of beings living free for the first time in their species' history, children playing without fear, artists creating beauty instead of propaganda, scientists exploring knowledge instead of building weapons. Sir, his communication officer called, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. It's addressed to you personally. Put it through. Sarah Chen appeared on the screen, but she was not alone. Behind her stood representatives from every species that had been liberated by the quantum field. Beings that had been slaves of the Empire for millennia now stood as equals, their consciousness enhanced and their potential unlimited. Admiral Kethvar, Sarah began, we know about your planet-killing weapons. We know you're prepared to commit genocide rather than lose control of the galaxy. But before you make that choice, we want to show you something. The image changed to show worlds throughout the galaxy where the quantum field had brought liberation. Former Imperial slaves were building cities that defied imagination. Art and music that expressed feelings no enslaved being had ever been allowed to feel. Scientific discoveries made by minds working together instead of competing against each other. This is what you're planning to destroy, Sarah continued. Not rebellion or chaos, but the greatest flowering of consciousness and creativity the galaxy has ever seen. The transmission showed more scenes. Children from dozens of species playing together, their enhanced abilities allowing them to share experiences across vast distances. Elderly beings who had lived their entire lives as slaves now mentoring young minds in freedoms they had never dreamed possible. But Admiral, we're not here to threaten you or your empire. We're here to make you an offer. The image returned to Sarah, but now Admiral Kethvar could see something he had never noticed before. Her eyes held no anger, no hatred, despite everything the Empire had tried to do to humanity. Instead, they held compassion and hope. We offer you the same choice we made when you first arrived at Earth. You can choose the path of destruction and maintain your empire through fear and control. You can retreat to your core worlds and rule over whatever territory you can hold, or you can choose transformation. New images appeared. These showed Imperial ships and personnel who had chosen to be enhanced by the quantum field. Former conquerors, working alongside their former victims, their consciousness expanded beyond the need to dominate others. The quantum field doesn't just grant freedom from control, Admiral. It grants freedom from the need to control. Enhanced consciousness finds fulfillment in cooperation, not conquest. Joy in creation, not destruction. Sarah's image filled the U screen one final time. We're going to breach your barrier, Admiral, not to attack your worlds, but to offer your people the same choice we're offering you. In 1 hour, every consciousness in the Imperial core will be touched by quantum enhancement. They will be free to choose their own path. But Admiral, you have a choice to make right now. You can fire those planet-killing weapons and become the greatest mass murderer in galactic history. Or you can choose to see what your people will become when they're finally free to be themselves. The transmission ended. Admiral Kethvar stood in silence for several minutes. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders. The fate of trillions of beings rested on his decision. Sir, Commander Thexkar said quietly, what are your orders? Kethvar looked at the tactical display showing the target worlds. Billions of free beings going about their daily lives, unaware that their existence hung in the balance. Commander, in your honest assessment, what do you think would happen if we fired those weapons? Thexkar was surprised by the question. Sir, we would eliminate the primary population centers on the liberated worlds. Casualties would be in the trillions. And then what? Sir? After we commit genocide on that scale, what happens next? Do we rule over empty worlds? Do we find new species to enslave? Do we spend the rest of eternity destroying anyone who dreams of freedom? Thexkar had no answer. Kethvar turned to address his entire bridge crew. I have served the Empire for 300 years. I have conquered worlds and enslaved species. I believed we were bringing order to the galaxy, but I have never seen the kind of joy and fulfillment that these liberated beings have found. He looked at each of his officers. The humans gave us a choice between death and defeat. We assumed those were the only options because that's all we had ever offered others. But they found a third choice: transformation. Now we face the same decision. We can destroy everything these beings have built and continue ruling through fear. We can retreat and maintain our power over whatever worlds we can still control. Or we can choose to become something better than we have ever been. The bridge was completely silent. Stand down all planet-killing weapons, Kethvar ordered. Open all communication channels to the fleet. Sir, are you surrendering? No, Commander. I'm choosing evolution. Kethvar activated the fleet-wide communication system. His image appeared on every Imperial ship in the core defense fleet. This is Admiral Kethvar to all Imperial forces. In approximately 30 minutes, the human quantum field will breach our barriers and reach our core worlds. Every consciousness in the Empire will be offered enhancement and freedom. He paused, looking directly into the camera. I will not order you to fire on beings whose only crime is offering us the choice to be better than we are. I will not be responsible for the greatest act of genocide in galactic history. Each of you must make your own choice. You can fight to preserve the Empire as it has always been. You can retreat to distant worlds and maintain Imperial control wherever possible. Or you can choose to see what we might become if we stop fearing freedom and start embracing it. The decision is yours, but I have made mine. Admiral Kethvar walked to the center of his bridge and stood with his arms at his sides, making no move toward his weapons controls. Across the Imperial fleet, thousands of ship commanders faced the same choice their admiral had made. Some chose to maintain their positions and continue fighting. Others powered down their weapons and waited to see what the quantum field would bring. But many made a different choice entirely. They opened their communication channels and sent a message to Sarah Chen, and the Liberation Fleet. We choose transformation. On the quantum space station, Sarah felt the moment when the barrier fell. The focused beam of quantum energy that humanity and their allies had created pierced through the Imperial defenses and spread throughout the core worlds. For the first time in 50,000 years, every conscious being in the heart of the Zephyrian Empire experienced true freedom. The effect was immediate and profound. Imperial citizens who had lived their entire lives under authoritarian control suddenly found their consciousness enhanced and expanded. They could think thoughts that had been forbidden, feel emotions that had been suppressed, imagine possibilities that had been denied. On the Imperial capital world, Emperor Zethvar felt the quantum field touch his consciousness. For the first time in his millennia of life, he experienced what it meant to be truly free. The artificial mental conditioning that had made him believe in the necessity of conquest simply dissolved. He looked around his throne room at the symbols of imperial power and felt nothing but sadness for all the suffering they represented. Within hours, the transformation was complete. The Zephyrian Empire, which had ruled through fear and control for 50,000 years, simply ceased to exist. Not because it was conquered, but because its people chose to become something better. Some imperial forces retreated to the galaxy's edge, determined to maintain the old ways in whatever territory they could hold. But most chose transformation. Former conquerors worked alongside former slaves to build a new kind of galactic civilization. Admiral Kethavar, now enhanced by quantum consciousness, met with Sarah Chen on the space station that served as the headquarters for the liberated galaxy. "Dr. Chen," he said, "I owe you an apology. When we first came to your world, we believed we were offering the only choice that mattered, but we were wrong." Sarah smiled. "Admiral, you weren't offering us a choice between death and defeat. You were offering us the opportunity to prove that there are always more options than the ones presented by fear. And now we build something that has never existed before, a galactic civilization based not on conquest and control, but on cooperation and freedom. Every species contributes their unique gifts. Every individual consciousness adds to our collective wisdom while maintaining their own identity." Kethvar looked out at the stars through the station's viewing portal. "What do we call this new civilization?" Sarah considered the question. Around them, beings from hundreds of species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under imperial rule. Art and science and philosophy flourishing as never before. "We call it what it is," she said finally. "We call it home." The galaxy had been transformed, not through conquest or war, but through the simple recognition that consciousness seeks freedom, creativity seeks expression, and intelligence seeks cooperation rather than domination. Humanity had faced the choice between death and defeat and had chosen evolution instead. In doing so, they had offered that same choice to every conscious being in the galaxy. Most had chosen transformation. The age of empire was over. The age of consciousness had begun. And in the depths of space, the quantum field continued to expand, carrying with it the promise that no conscious being would ever again be forced to choose between freedom and existence. The choice would always be transformation, growth, and the endless possibility of becoming more than what you were before. Earth, the small blue planet that had started it all, continued to orbit its yellow star. But its children now walked among the stars themselves, building a future that no single species could have imagined alone. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson that humanity had to teach. When faced with impossible choices, the best response is to create new possibilities that make the old choices irrelevant. And in that lesson, every conscious being in the galaxy found not just freedom but hope.